Okay, so let's start. So today we are going to see the analysis of the differential amplifiers. So many times in the exam you have to read the question very properly. Okay? So I'll tell you how to read the question. When they tell you to do analysis of differential amplifier, they will specify whether the analysis expected is quantitative or rather let me put it this way first, whether the mode of operation is differential mode or common mode. Okay. Now here, if it is differential mode, each of these will have two types of analysis. One is qualitative and the other one is quantitative. Here also we have qualitative and quantitative. Now let us understand what is the meaning of this. When we say differential mode, I think I have already told you what a differential mode is. So for a differential mode signal, we will have V1 is basically equal to minus of V2 and VCM is equal to 0, and in common mode V1 equal to V2 equal to 0 and VCM is not equal to 0, and to be very specific, VCM was V in 1 plus V in 2 by 2. Now, when we talk about the qualitative analysis, at that time we should understand that it talks about plotting characteristics. Similarly here, when we talk about common mode and qualitative analysis, here also we are plotting characteristics. Then what do we do in quantitative operation? So analysis of differential mode, and if they say quantitative analysis, then what we are plotting, what we are finding here is, or I should not, I will, instead of writing formula, I will write derivation for differential mode gain. Differential gain. And here we will be talking about derivation of common mode gain. So when we say differential mode gain, that time the symbol that we actually use is AD, and here what we use is AC. And when we combine both of this, we can arrive at a formula of CMRR, which tells us how good the differential amplifier is in amplifying the differential gain and how it is rejecting the common mode signal. That is why this is called as CMRR, which is common mode rejection ratio, and the formula for that is AD by AC. So this is the general way in which we go about the analysis of the differential amplifier. So please copy this quickly and then we'll go ahead. So qualitative, quantitative, qualitative and quantitative. The word quanti means quantifying something. You can quantify a thing by giving the formula for that particular variable. So if we are calculating gain, we should give the formula for the gain when we are trying to quantify it. So once done, please write done in the chat box. So we will begin now with qualitative analysis in differential mode, followed by qualitative analysis, quantitative analysis, and so on. So first objective would be to do this qualitative analysis of both, and then we will do quantitative analysis of both. So in the exam, they may ask you anything. They may ask you a question on 1, 2, 3, or 4. Once you are done, write done in the chat box. Okay. Yes, all of you, have you like drawn this chart? Okay. So let's go ahead and see now the qualitative analysis in differential. So I am very clearly stating all the analysis. Qualitative analysis in the differential mode. Now, most important thing here is that in the differential mode, our common mode signal is 0. Okay, so let us first draw the circuit and then we'll have a complete explanation of all this. So let me draw it like this. Please draw the circuit. VDD, and here we will, so this is like a current source, but and this is my drain source and this is access. So please write like this, and here I am just showing the complete circuit. So now I will not highlight how to like calculate the value and all. We have already seen. This way. So this is drain, source, drain, source. We'll just note down drain, source, gate like this. Then we have here, we'll name all the MOSFETs, M1, M2, then here we have M3, and this can be M4. Yes. Rohan and Pratik, just start drawing the next ones. And like I told you, symmetry is very important. RD1 should be equal to RD2, and let me call it as RD itself. Then here we have, let's say V out 1, and here we have V out 2. And let us also show the currents ID1 and ID2. This ID1 and ID. So what we actually do in this, what we actually do is we vary V in 1 minus V in 2 from minus infinity to plus infinity. Okay, this is what we actually do. So that gives us some typical cases. So first please write this. So we can write like here, case 1. V in 1 is less than V in 2. V in 1 is less than V in 2, which means V in 1 minus V in 2 is negative. Because now what is important is not V in 1 or V in 2. V in 1 minus V in 2 is what is important. Yes, please write this. Okay, so now you write case 1. Now here what happens here is, let's see here like this. Okay, this is my VGS. Okay, so if V in 1 is much more negative than V in 2, what happens here is M1 is off, M1 is off, and M2 is on. M1 is off and M2 is on. Now, what is how can you actually visualize this? So let's say that here v in 1 is minus v in 2 is negative. So let me just give you an example. Let me write v in 1 is uh, minus 1 and v in 2 is plus 1. Okay. So what is minus v in 1 minus v in 2? Minus 1 minus, so v in 1 minus v in 2 is going to be, let's say, minus 2 volts. Now, to achieve this minus 2 volts, what you actually did is you applied a minus 1 volt at the gate, okay, of M1, and you applied a 1 volt at the gate of M2. Now, when you apply a negative gate voltage to the gate of the MOSFET, you know that MOSFET requires a positive value of VGS, and this value of VGS is going to be like really very important, and it should be greater than threshold voltage to turn the MOSFET on. So when you actually apply a negative value, what happens is the M1 is going to turn off, okay, and M2 is going to turn on. So the gate voltage that you are applying to M1 is not sufficient to turn it on, and the gate voltage that you are trying to apply at the gate of M2 is sufficient enough to turn on the MOSFET. So as we say M1 is off and M2 is on, this equation is always true. You can see ISS is equal to I1 plus I2. So if M1 is off, what it means is I1 is 0, and if I1 is 0, then ISS becomes equal to I2. ISS becomes equal to I2. So here now I will write, or rather I will write ID1 and ID2. That's what we have used. So ID1 is 0. So in case 1, ID2 is equal to ISS. ID2 is equal to ISS. Right, like this. If ID2 is equal to ISS, then very easily you can find out, you can observe here in this both the equations, that the equation for Vout1, the equation for Vout1 is actually VDD minus ID1 RD1, and equation for Vout2 is VDD minus ID2 RD2. So if ID1 is 0, then my Vout, you can see here, Vout1 is equal to simply VDD, and Vout2 is equal to VDD minus ID2 is nothing but ISS. So that will be ISS times of RD. And I have already told you RD1 is the same as RD2. So I am now onwards going to write RD1 and RD2 as RD itself. So here these are the two outputs. So Vout1 and Vout2 is like this. Now if we bring V in 1 and V in 2 closer to each other, okay, either you can bring V in 2 towards minus 1, or we can bring V in 1 towards V2. So what happens is, when you can write case 2, when V in 1 becomes equal to V in 2, at V in 1 equal to V in 2, what will be the value of V in 1 minus V in 2? the value of V in 1 minus V in 2 would be 0. Would be 0. So when you bring them closer to each other, what happens is M1 gradually turns on, drawing a fraction of ISS from RD1, and hence V out starts to, because the current ID1 starts flowing, that ID1 which was initially 0 will now become non-zero. And that is the reason why what will happen is, since V in 1 and V in 2 are the same, at that point we can say M1 is on, M1 is on, and M2 is now also on. So this could be a typical case where both are like 1 volt, okay, when the difference between them is 0. So when both are on, at that time ID1 not equal to 0, ID2 also not equal to 0. So now under this circumstance, we know that ID1 plus ID2 is equal to ISS. The drain current of M2 decreases and V out 2 is going to rise. So here, when V in 1 is brought closer to V in 2, again I am saying M1 gradually turns on, drawing a fraction of ISS from RD1. If current ID1 flows, then V out 1 is going to slightly fall, because V out 1 is VDD minus ID1 RD1, and hence it will lower the value of V out 1. Since ID1 plus ID2 is equal to ISS, the drain current of M2 decreases and V out is going to rise. So formula wise, see here, now ID1 and ID2 will both not be equal to 0. Since the gate voltages of both M1 and M2 are same, you can also write ID1 is equal to ID2. You know ID1 plus ID2 is equal to ISS. So with the help of these two equations, you can write ID1 is equal to ID2 is equal to ISS by 2. And once you are able to write like this, now we can write the equation for V out 1 is equal to VDD minus, instead of ID1, we will write, now what is the value of ID1? ISS by 2. So that will be ISS by 2 into RD. And V out 2 will be VDD minus again ISS by 2 times of RD. So now this is the way the output is going to change. Now with the help of case 1, 2 and 3, we will be able to build a characteristics. And now case 3. Let us see the case 3, what it can be. So case 3 is like this. That is, V in 1 is greater than V in 2. So what will happen to the difference? V in 1 minus V in 2 will be positive, and because of this, M1 will now continue to remain on, M2 is going to become off. If M1 is on, ID1 is equal to ISS and ID2 will be equal to 0. Therefore, V out 1 will now be VDD minus ISS times of RD, and V out 2 will be simply VDD. Please write this. So we will build the characteristics, that is from equation 1. These are the 2, we will say 2, and these are 3. So in differential amplifiers, we have to look at both of them at a time. So please write this case 1, case 2 and case 3. Once done, just let me know. Have you written case 1? If yes, write case 1 done. If you are not written, just unmute and tell me. I will just scroll up. Yes, please copy this. Okay, Rohan, Soham. I'll just wait for another 2 minutes. And in the meantime, if there are doubts, you can unmute and ask. So whenever you are writing, you can, those who have doubts can unmute and ask. No problem. Okay. Now, like I told you, what we are doing here is qualitative analysis. So we are expecting the characteristics. Okay. So now let's see the characteristics of the differential amplifier. So differential amplifier has got two different characteristics in different modes. So now we are seeing the characteristics in the differential mode. Yes, somebody wants to say something. draw like this. Now let's see. So on this axis here, I am just writing Vout1 slash Vout2. Okay. Now you can see that if you look at Vout1, the maximum value is VDD, the intermediate value is VDD minus this, and this is going to be like the minimum value. So same is the case with Vout2, that is the min, max and the intermediate values are the same. So what we will do now is we will define min value, max value like this. Okay. And the central value will be exactly in between. So first you all will write in this way. Now, what is the maximum value? VDD. What is the minimum value? VDD minus ISS RD, and the intermediate value is VDD minus ISS by 2 times of RD. Now with this much in mind, we can start drawing the characteristics. So the entire operation is actually divided into 3 regions. The region where M1 is on, M2 is off. Then we have a region where both are on, M1 and M2. And then we have a region where again M2 is on and M1 is off. So these are those 3 regions. Now let us look at Vout1. Vout1. To understand the value, what is Vout1 and Vout2, let me first write here. So on the x-axis, we have Vin1 minus Vin2. Okay. So now here let's write like this. First we will plot Vout1. So what is the maximum value of Vout1? VDD. Let's go up and see. In case 1, when Vin1 is less than Vin2, Vout1 is having the value of VDD. So this is like the negative side, this is like the positive side, where Vin1 minus Vin2 is positive. So when Vin1 minus Vin2 is negative, that time the value of Vout is positive. Then as we approach 0, the value falls to VDD minus ISS by 2 times of RD. And when Vin1 minus Vin2 becomes positive, that time it maintains a low value which is equal to VDD minus ISS by ISS into RD. Similarly, for Vout2, when Vin1 minus Vin2 is negative, Vout2 is VDD minus ISS into RD, and When it tries to go to 0, that time it reaches a value of VDD minus ISS by 2 into RD, and then it maintains a high value of so this is basically your Vout 2, and this graph is for Vout 1. Now here in this region M1 is off, M2 is on. Okay, then in this region M1 and M2 both are on, and here M1 is on, M2 is off. Okay, so please draw the characteristics like this. Now this is like so on this one characteristics we have seen Vout1 and Vout2 separately, but in a differential amplifier we want to plot differential input versus differential output. We want to plot what? Differential input versus differential output. So in that case, what should we do? So here's what one can do. So I'm just taking these characteristics just exactly below this thing. Okay, and here we want now Vout1 minus Vout2. And here we want Vin1 minus Vin. Now if you see case 1, here Vout1 minus Vout2. If you look at case 1, Vout1 minus Vout2 is equal to how much? Plus ISS times of RD. In case 2, these are your Vout1 and Vout2. So you can write here Vout1 minus here we can write Vout1 minus Vout2 is equal to 0, and in the last case we can write Vout1 minus Vout2 is equal to minus ISS RD. So now again we know that the max level is we know the mean and the max levels. Okay, and the transition region will be more or less the same. This way, and now here we will be plotting Vout1 minus of Vout. So you can see that when the Vin1 minus Vin2 input is negative, that time the difference output is going to be plus ISS into RD. So this is how it is going to be. So just draw this line but straight. This is plus ISS RD. This point is 0 and this is minus ISS RD. So again here M1 off, M2 on. Here in between M1 M2 both on, and here M1 on, M2 off. So this is called as the input output characteristics of the differential amplifier in differential mode. So if you have drawn the characteristics 1, right, char 1 done, then we'll go to char 2. Then I'll scroll up and go to char 2. So just to summarize again, how we have changed V in 1 minus V in 2. So we said that let V in 1 minus V in 2 vary from minus infinity to plus infinity. If V in 1 is much more negative than V in 2, then M1 becomes off and M2 turns on. Because of this, ID2 becomes equal to IDSS. Thus, Vout1 is equal to VDD and Vout2 becomes equal to VDD minus RD times of ISS. Now, in case 2, when V in 1 is brought closer to V in 2, M1 gradually turns on, drawing a fraction of ISS from RD1. Due to this, Vout1 will now slightly lower. Since ID1 plus ID2 is equal to ISS, the drain current of M2 decreases and Vout2 rises. When V in 1 is equal to V in 2, we have Vout1 equal to Vout2 equal to VDD minus RD into ISS by 2. As V in 1 becomes more positive than V in 2, M1 carries a greater current than M2 and Vout1 drops below Vout2. Now, in case 3, for sufficiently large V in 1 minus V in 2, ID1 becomes equal to ISS, turning off M2. As a result, Vout1 will now be VDD minus RD into ISS, and Vout2, you can see it is equal to how much? VDD. So, in this sense, we have drawn this first characteristics, and from the first characteristics, we have now drawn the second characteristics. So there is a way in which you have to understand this. You can't just imagine these characteristics out of the box, okay? But in the books, they generally give like this directly and then students get confused. So it is important to note these small points down during the lecture, so that when you actually try to read a book, you will be able to make some sense out of it. And the literature in the books is slightly at the higher level. Okay, so you require a very concentrated effort has to be done to understand the concept, a concept from the book. Now from this, what are our notings? So from this qualitative analysis, it can be noted that number one, the maximum and the minimum levels at the output are well defined. Well defined means what? One is VDD and the second one is VDD minus RD times of ISS. And ISS value depends on the value of the current source which we will be designing. So I have already shown you how to design a current source, and any of you can now design a current source for any value which is given to you. And you can very well observe that these formulas VDD and VDD minus RD times of ISS are independent of the CM level. It is independent of what you are applying at the gate. Point number 2, the small signal gain, the slope of Vout1 minus Vout2 versus Vin1 minus Vin2 is maximum. It is maximum for Vin1 equal to Vin2, and it gradually falls to 0 as Vin1 minus Vin2 increases, either on the negative side or on the positive side. This implies that the circuit becomes non-linear if my input voltage swing increases like anything. So your input voltage should not increase beyond a certain point. The same thing which happens in BJT also. For Vin1 equal to Vin2, that is point number 3, circuit is said to be in the equilibrium condition. So where you get a slope, there you will get a gain. Where you are getting flat lines, at that point you cannot get any gain. So if you want to operate this circuit as an amplifier, you have to operate it in this region. For amplification or for amplifier, you have to keep the circuit in this region, and you have to ensure that M1 and M2 are both on. Okay, and when you keep it in the other regions, it acts like a switch. Either you get a 1 or you get a 0, max or min. Okay, so anyways, we can, depending on the application, we can choose what we want, but this is what it is. So if you are done with characteristics 2, write char 2 done. Okay, so let's wait 2 minutes for others also. Yes, any doubts, please ask. Okay, so let's go to the next one. I have already prepared very good notes on this part for you, so I'll be giving it to you. Now we will see qualitative analysis in common mode. Now we saw qualitative analysis in differential mode. Now let us see qualitative analysis in common mode. So the equations are more or less the same. But now there is a small change here. In common mode, we will not apply different signals at the output, at the input side. We will always apply the same signals. So here we will apply V in, I will call V in Cm, and here also I will apply something V in Cm. So inputs at the gate voltages at M1 and M2 are the same. So you can note here gate voltages for M1 and M2 are similar. Okay. This circuit, which is having a resistance capital R, M4 and M3, forms the current source. So you should look at this circuit only as a current source. Now this entire circuit can be generalized in this way. So here I'll just rub this now, okay, for the time being, and the voltage at this point I'll remove this current source circuit. I'll call this as VB. The voltage here is VB. And what is this voltage VB? This is actually the value of VGS. Okay, so VB is nothing but VGS, and VB will have the value of 2ISS upon mu n COX W by L3 plus VTH. That's the value of VB. Okay. And this is pretty much, you can determine this value, and this value comes assuming M3 is in saturation. So if M3 is in saturation, then we are looking at this region of operation. So ideally we should get a flat line, but in a practical case there will always be some slope, and that is why this entire circuit here, this entire circuit we can model it as so this entire circuit we can just keep it this way, and now say that in this region, in the saturation region, where there is a slight slope, So this is saturation, this is linear. So here you can see some slope, so there will be some resistance, and that resistance will be very high. Okay, and that is the resistance of the MOSFET in the saturation region. So instead of showing this like VBB and everything, we can just write here, this is like a on state. The situation here is like a resistance connected here, RSS, and that RSS is like the on state resistance of the MOSFET. So actually what we have connected is circuit number 1, but we have ensured that M3 is always in saturation. So in saturation, what are the different voltage conditions? So at the gate, so at this point, which is VB, we have this voltage, and if it is in saturation, then it will have some resistance here, and that resistance I have shown it here. Okay, so when we are connecting a current source, between this common point and ground, there is a resistance value. The value of this resistance is high. The value of this resistance is high. Okay, it's not at all a low resistance, it's a very high resistance, because you can think of it in this way also, that a ideal current source has got an infinite resistance in parallel with the current source, and a practical current source will have a high resistance, very high resistance in parallel with it. So it is this parallel resistance. So what I would want you to do is, first you will copy these two circuits and then I will go down. So if you are done with circuit 1, then you write circuit 1 done, then 2, and then finally 3. So first you draw this 1 and 2, and then we will draw 3, and then we will go for the explanation based on these two. So at both the places here, V in 1 is equal to V in Cm. V in 2 is also equal to V in Cm. And in this also, V in 1 and V in 2 will have V in Cm. That means you are basically applying the same input at both the terminals. And now we want to see what happens to such a signal which is equal in magnitude, which is getting applied at both the terminals, whether it gets amplified, whether it gets attenuated, or what. Yes, any doubts in this, please ask. Have you copied circuit 1 and circuit 2? Tanvi, Soham, Rohan, Pratik,
Not yet, sir.
Vaishnavi. Okay. Okay, you take some time because the more you write it, it will go in your head. Pratik, just wait. We wait for 2 minutes until we
Done,
go
sir.
next. Yeah, we'll just wait for 2 minutes while others are also noting it down. Okay, so I'm just scrolling down now for circuit number 3. Please note this.
Sir, could you see what is it pink line above?
Could you?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Now, in this circuit, what we are going to do to plot the characteristics in the differential mode, we went from minus infinity to plus infinity, right? Now here both the inputs are same. So what we are going to do is we are going to change V in Cm from 0 to plus infinity. This is what we are going to do. So now what we will do is we will like have 3 graphs. Okay, we will see what happens to ID1 and ID2. Then we will see what happens to the voltage here. This is VP. What flows through this is actually ISS. So in common sense, you can say VP is ISS into RSS, whatever this value is. Okay. So ISS is generally in microamperes and RSS is in kilo ohms. So you will get a value which is in volts here. So now let's draw 2 or 3 graphs. So let's draw it in this way. This is 1, 2, and then let's say we have a 3 here. So everything is going to now like vary with respect to V in Cm. So on x-axis we'll have V in Cm. I'm calling it V in Cm, but in layman's language it is the voltage that you are applying at the gates of M1 and M2. And most importantly, it is common to all the MOSFETs, that is M1 and M2. So here now we want like ID1 comma ID2, and ID1 and ID2 will increase or decrease together because you are applying VNC, the same voltage at the gates of both the MOSFETs. So if you increase V in Cm, ID1 as well as ID2 will increase at the same time. The defining voltage in, since you are applying the voltages at the gate, the defining voltage becomes the threshold voltage of the MOSFET. So V in Cm starts from 0. It may reach a value which is equal to the threshold voltage of the MOSFETs. So I'll call this as VTH. So I'll give you some time to draw this. Okay, like this. So now we want to know ID1, ID2, then we want to know like the voltage at Vp, and then we will want here Vout1 slash Vout2. So if you are done copying with this diagram circuit, let's start with the working of this. So when V in Cm is equal to 0, okay, when V in Cm is equal to 0, the gate potential of M1 and M2 is not more positive than their source potential. Now, what is the meaning of this particular statement? ID1, ID2, and here we have Vp. So if you look at M1, VGS is equal to VG minus Vs, and Vg is V in Cm, and Vs is equal to Vp. That is, the source is connected to this point and the voltage at that point is Vp. Now what we are saying is when V in Cm is equal to 0, when this is equal to 0, at that time VGS becomes minus of Vp. So Vp is positive because it's a voltage drop above ground, and VGS is minus of that value. So if the gate source voltage is negative, then the MOSFET M1 will be in cutoff. And since you are applying the same V in Cm on the other side, we can say M2 will also be in cutoff. So if M1 and M2 are in cutoff, then the current flowing through the MOSFETs, then the current flowing through the MOSFETs in this region would be zero. Then the currents flowing will be zero. Will be zero. Okay. If the currents which are flowing through the MOSFET are zero, if ID1 and ID2 is equal to 0, ISS will also be 0. If ISS is 0, then the voltage drop across RSS will also be 0. And if the voltage drop across RSS is 0, then VP will also be 0. So that is why in this region my VP is also 0 and Vout and Vout1 and Vout2. So Vout1 is like we have written here, I'll write it again, VDD minus ID1 RD, and Vout2 is equal to VDD minus ID2 RD. So ID1 and ID2 are 0. So Vout1 and Vout2 would be obviously how much? VDD. So outputs would be maximum. Vout1 and Vout2 would be maximum, and this level is nothing but, this level would be VDD. Okay. Now, so this is what we get. So with ID1 and ID2 equal to 0, so I am just summarizing all this. When V in Cm is equal to 0, the gate potential of M1 and M2 is not more positive than their source potential. Therefore, M1 and M2 are off, putting, if M1 and M2 are off, then what will you get? ID1 and ID2 are 0. And if ID1 and ID2 are 0, ISS, which depends on ID1 and ID2, which is ISS is ID1 plus ID2, even ISS is going to become equal to 0. Now, if ID1 and ID2 are 0, the circuit is incapable of signal amplification, and from the formulas for Vout, you can clearly see that if Vout1 will be equal to Vout2, and the value of both of them will be equal to VDD. So, when V in Cm becomes more positive, let us say, now if V in Cm slowly starts increasing and it becomes positive, positive means it, even if it is slightly greater than 0, we can say it is positive. But if now V in Cm becomes greater than VTH, which is the threshold voltage of the MOSFET, then now M1 and M2 will start conducting. M1 and M2 will start conducting. Because of this, the current ID1 and ID2 will start increasing. ID1 and ID2 will start increasing. What will happen to VP? If ID1 and ID2 starts increasing, ISS is going to increase, and if ISS increases, the voltage drop across the transistor is also going to increase. And if the voltage drop across the M3 transistor increases, it is as good as the VP value is going to increase. Now if ID1 and ID2 increases, naturally previously they were 0. So what will happen now? The value of the outputs are going to fall, and the minimum value that they will achieve is how much? It is going to be how much? The minimum value that is achievable is going to be VDD minus ISS by 2 into RD. So this value, I'll write VDD minus ISS by 2 times of RD. Now, what happens is, let's do it like this. Beyond the point, ID1 and ID2 continue to increase and VP also rises. Now what happens that it can be observed that M1 and M2 constitute a source follower circuit which forces VP to track V in CM. Now what it means is that the voltage at this point VP is actually becoming equal to V in CM. Now let us look at it in this way, that for a sufficiently high V in CM, so now initially V in CM was 0, then we made V in CM equal to VTH, and now we are increasing it beyond our limit. So what will happen? So if V in C, if you keep on increasing, V in CM, then what happens is that for a sufficiently high V in CM, the drain source voltage of M3, the drain source voltage of M3 means VP. The drain source voltage of M3 exceeds VGS3 minus VTH. Exceeds VGS3 minus VTH. So I'll show you here in the first diagram. If you keep on increasing V in CM, okay, to keep this transistor in saturation, we are applying this much voltage. Okay. Now, if I keep on increasing V in CM like anything, there will come a point. So to keep this transistor in saturation, we need to minimum apply this much, VGS3 minus VTH3. If I keep on increasing V in CM, I am increasing the voltage at this point, VP. And this VP is actually the VDS for this transistor. This VP is actually the VDS for this transistor. Now, there will come a point where VDS becomes greater than VGS3 minus VTH. VGS3 minus VTH. And now, if that happens, the transistor will go into the saturation region of operation. It will go into what? The saturation region of operation. And in the saturation region of operation, the current is going to be constant. And in the saturation region of operation, the current is going to be constant. ID1 and ID2 will become constant. VP will keep on increasing, but ID1 and ID2 values will become constant. And here, if ID1 and ID2 become constant, then Vout1 and Vout2 will also maintain a constant value. So this is what actually happens, and we say that the total current through M1 and M2 remains a constant. So now you can conclude like this, that for proper operation, V in CM has got certain limits. So V in CM should be greater than, see here, V in CM you are applying here, so it is actually VGS of M1 plus VP, but VP is VGS 3 minus VTH3, because you can see here this resistance is actually a MOSFET in the saturation region, and the voltage required to keep the MOSFET in the saturation region is VGS3 minus VTH3. So the condition, that is the limit, the lower limit of V in CM is VGS1 plus VGS3 minus VTH3. This is the lower limit. And what will be the higher limit? So the higher limit is, if V in CM rises further, then since Vout1 and Vout2 V out 1 and V out 2 are relatively constant. So now your current has become constant, but still you are increasing V in Cm. Then what will happen? You can again see here V out 1 and V out 2 are relatively constant. Why they are constant? Because now the currents are, now the transistor is in the saturation mode, and these are the formula for the V out. So V out 1 and V out 2 actually do not depend on V in Cm. They depend on ID1 and ID2, and we have ensured that ID1 and ID2 are always in the M1 and M2 are always in the saturation region, and ID1 and ID2 are always going to be constants. So now, if this is the lower limit, then the higher limit is something like this, that if V in Cm rises further, V out 1 and V out 2 are relatively constant. So the drain voltage here, V out 1 and V out 2 are relatively constant. So what you are doing is you are continuously increasing V in Cm. So you are increasing what? VGS. You are increasing the VGS of the transistor. So it might happen that if you continuously increase VGS, so I'll just show you like this. For the lower limit, VDS1 is equal to VD1 minus VS1. Now drain is actually V out 1 and Vs source is actually Vp. Similar, so what we are doing is we are increasing the value of VGS1, and VGS1 is nothing but Vg minus Vs, and we are having V in Cm minus Vp. So if you actually see here that I am increasing V in Cm, okay, I am increasing V in Cm, my V out 1 is constant, my Vp is constant. So there will come a, if my VGS1 increases, then the condition to keep the transistors in saturation is actually VDS should be greater than, or VDS1 should be greater than VGS1 minus VTH. So if I keep on increasing V in Cm, my VGS will increase. My VGS will increase. And if my VGS increases, then this condition might not get satisfied. Might not get satisfied. And if this does not get satisfied, then it will lead to transistors going into linear region. This condition will reverse. Instead of VDS greater than VGS minus VTH, it will become VDS less than VGS minus VTH. So the transistor might go into the linear region. And as far as amplification is concerned, the transistor should always remain in the saturation region. So initially the transistors were in cutoff. Then when we increased V in Cm, they came into saturation. And if when we increased V in Cm further, they are trying to go into linear. But as far as amplification is concerned, we should always have our operating transistors M1, M2, M3, all of them in saturation region. So this sets two limits. One is the lower limit should be followed so that the transistor should not go in cutoff, and the higher limit should be followed because the transistor should not go in linear. And that is why now I say my V in Cm, the higher limit should be not more, my V in Cm should always be lesser than, my V in Cm should always be lesser than V out should be always lesser than V out minus VTH, or V out is nothing but basically VDS, and this VDS is nothing but VGS minus VTH. So V in CM, the upper limit is VDD minus RD ISS by 2 minus VTH. So this is basically the characteristics in the, this is the quantitative analysis of the qualitative analysis of the common mode operation. So just to reiterate what we got actually. So qualitative analysis of differential mode gave us the range of values, for V in 1 minus V in 2, where you get the maximum gain, where max gain can be achieved. And here qualitative analysis gave us the range of V in C, range of V in C. Okay, so now you can draw like the complete characteristics. First you draw the characteristics, then we'll have a review of the working again. So like I said, you should be very much accustomed with what is linear, what is saturation, what is cutoff.
So,
Yes.
could you show the classes part value of this theory?
Plus, sorry. Yeah, sorry, what did you say?
Could you show the analysis tree diagram?
Tree diagram, acha, this one.
Thank you.
this we can slightly show it in this way also. Yes, so here I'm just rubbing this for a time being. So conditions of operations of the MOSFET. So if you see, there are three MOSFETs: M1, M2, M3. So here M1 is in cutoff, M2 is also in cutoff, M3 is in saturation because it's a constant current source. In this region, M1, M2, M3, this is in saturation, this is in saturation, this is also in saturation. And here, M1, M2, M3, this is in saturation, this is in linear, this is in linear. So we get amplification here. When all three are in saturation, this is where we can actually work. So this clearly states that V out VD V in CM, that is VGS1 should be less than VDS at least by an amount of VTH. That is the meaning of this. So this is like the higher limit and lower limit, and this is the higher limit. So I am just summarizing everything again. That is, when V in Cm is equal to 0, the gate potential of M1 and M2 are not more positive than their source potential. Therefore, M1 and M2 are off. So this indicates that the current ID1 and ID2 will be 0 and the signal is incapable of amplification. At the same time, since ID1 and ID2 are 0, Vout1 and Vout2 is equal to what? VDD from the formulas. So I'm talking here now about region 1. So this is region 1, 2 and 3. Let's see. So like I said, M1 is in cutoff, M2 is in cutoff, and M3 is in saturation because it is biased by a independent circuit. Now when we increase the V in Cm beyond VTH, we will reach region 2. So if V in Cm is greater than VTH, then M1 and M2 will turn on. If M1 and M2 turns on, then ID1 and ID2 will now be non-zero, and the current will start flowing and it will gradually increase. If the current increases, naturally you can see that the voltage V out will fall because now ID1 and ID2 are not zero. If ID1 and ID2 increases, ISS, that is the current flowing through the RSS resistance, is also going to increase because ISS is ID1 plus ID2, and now ID1 and ID2 are increasing. Hence the voltage drop across it, which is actually the value of Vp, will also increase. So now you can see beyond VTH, the Vp value is going to increase. Now, there comes a point, so there comes a point here where V in Cm, so this is the lower point V in Cm, so there comes a point where V in Cm exceeds a certain value. So if V in Cm is now going to become too high, then the MOSFETs M1 and M2 will go into linear by this logic, because we know VDS1 is this, VGS1 is VG minus Vs, and Vout1 and Vp are more or less constant because the current flowing through the M3 is constant, and so hence Vp is constant, and Vout1 is also basically a constant only because ID1 and ID2 are now constant in this region. So beyond a certain point, there is a possibility that the MOSFETs might go into the linear region, and that is why that sets the higher limit on VNC. So what it means is that the VDS should always be greater than VGS by an amount of threshold voltage. So that means V in Cm, that is VGS, should be less than VDS by an amount of threshold voltage. So that is the way to write V in Cm, that is V in Cm is less than V out plus VTH, that is by an amount of threshold voltage. So like this we get the higher and lower limits of V in Cm. So any doubts in this, please ask. So I think that is enough for the day today. And on Monday, not Monday, on Thursday, we will complete this and start off with our last chapter, that is on power amplifiers. So I think we should be able to finish off everything before the month of December. And yeah, so we will do that small derivations in the next class and then go ahead with the other things. So thank you everybody.